to close your eyes if that feels comfortable for you. And collectively, why don't we place our attention in our heart space, which is in the center of our chest. And take a moment to appreciate breath. A moment to appreciate our transportation that brought us here together. A moment to appreciate Charles and Myrtle Fillmore, their journey and coming to know the truth that there's only one, that life is perfect, that life is our life, that life is all. And today we gather to anchor in the truth of our beingness, whether we are here together physically or watching from home. Wherever we are, we have far more to be grateful for than to be sorry for. And so we pause in gratitude, in silence, in this dedicated time to remember the truth of our beingness, the truth of this world. To expand our love, our light, and the knowingness for all those everywhere that we cannot be fooled by appearances. We know we are the infinite, and they are the infinite. And as a community and as a movement, we choose to ignite this truth for ourselves first, so that we give from our overflow, and then for all beings everywhere. We choose that no matter what prices look like or the news says, there is a power greater than us that is operating for all of its creations. And while sometimes to the naked eye it doesn't appear to be harmonious, what we know as a community is that we stand for that harmony. We stand and hold the truth of each and every soul's divinity on this planet. And so we just give thanks for this precious community. We bless Kim Andrews as she takes time to fill her well, to rest in her magnificence. We give thanks for her. We give thanks for yourselves. And we bless this time. We call it sacred. We call it nourishing. And so it is. This morning's reading comes from 365 Days of Richer Living by Ernest Holmes and Raymond Charles Barker. I control my thought. Free will does not mean that wrong thinking is justifiable. Infinite mind created man, woman, free souls, in order that we might experiment with varying combinations of right ideas. I am free to think in all possible ways about the good, the true, and the perfect. There are endless possibilities of right thinking, of right action. We now assume dominion of our minds and emotions and dedicate them to positive goals. We enjoy the infinite variety of divine ideas, and we contemplate their possibilities of making us new creatures expressing spiritual discernment. Our faith in God is so great that we have no faith in evil. We cannot conceive of evil's power, for we know that God alone is power and is presence. Life to me, life to us, is an affirmative action of thought. We think affirmatively this day, knowing that good is created, maintained, and extended by doing so. We drink of the living water of spiritual truth and am never thirsty for error again. We eat of the heavenly manna of God's ideas and never again hunger for old experiences. We look forward with our minds and create good ahead of ourselves. We do this deliberately, for our future will be the result of our thinking today. God's thoughts are now my thoughts, and good appears instantly wherever I look. Thinking rightly of God and of ourselves is a joyous and easy accomplishment. Our mind is centered in heaven, and good is established in our earth. Ideas of good appear in our consciousness continuously, and we give them free action through us. I am, you are, we are in full control of our own destiny, and we now create good alone. Recognizing the one true source of our thinking, we experience only the one possible effect in our experience, the effect of good. Controlled, poised, and sure, we see God everywhere. As we think, God's thoughts with God. And so it is.
Good morning, friends. So good to see you all. There's a new one. She's so cute. So today we're reading about happiness. And because we're in control of our thoughts, it is our decision. So Ernest Holmes and Emmett Fox in particular in this case, says, true Christianity is an entirely positive influence. It comes into a man's life to enlarge and enrich it, to make it fuller and wider and better, never to restrict it. You cannot lose anything that is worth having through acquiring a knowledge of truth. Sacrifice there has to be, but it is only sacrifice of the things that one is much happier without. Amen. Never of anything that is really worth having. Many people have the idea that getting a better knowledge of God will mean giving up things that they will regret losing. One girl said, I mean to take up religion later on when I'm older, but I want to enjoy myself for a while first. I said that myself when I was a child. I actually said that. This, however, is to miss the whole point. The things one has to sacrifice are selfishness, fear, and belief in necessary limitation of any kind. Above all, one has to sacrifice the belief that there is any power or endurance in evil apart from the power that we ourselves give it by believing in it. Drawing near to God would not have caused this girl to lose any enjoyment, but rather she would have gained immeasurably in happiness. It is quite true that as her consciousness changed, she would probably have found that certain forms of pleasure hunting no longer attracted her. This would probably have happened, but there would have been ample compensation in the new light that would be thrown upon every phase of her life, and in the wonderful new aspects that the world would begin to wear for her. It is only things not worth having that would disappear under the action of truth. So our affirmation today, say it with me 3 times. As I acquire greater knowledge of truth, I get closer to having immeasurable happiness. As I acquire greater knowledge of truth, I get closer to having immeasurable happiness. As I acquire greater knowledge of truth, I get closer to having immeasurable happiness.
That was beautiful. Thank you. I was sitting there while you were singing, and I was thinking, like, I don't know, sometimes you can't always put into word what you feel, right? But I was thinking, like, how is it that me, out in Fort Worth, a message comes to me, I don't know you, never met you, and then you sing about what I'm going to talk about today.
Look at that.
So, yeah, right? So if I had a talk title, I would say, who do you say you are? Who do I say I am? Who do we say we are? It's inspired by a video clip, sort of, kind of, that we're going to watch later. But messages choose me, and then they work me for months. Every part that's not like the message shows up. So it can be bumpy. But anyway, who do I say I am? Who do we say we are? In this philosophy, we've been taught that we are the infinite. The infinite's not out there. This vessel is the infinite. This vessel, your vessels, are the infinite's temples. Our minds are the infinite minds. So if I identify myself as that, as we did in the meditation this morning, I am that I am, then whatever is happening in life is happening for us and is a gift. It may not always feel like a gift, might not always look like a gift. However, when we are the infinite, it's really its life expressing in all these magnificent ways. And when we're met with a challenge, if we want to call it that, and I like that word now, actually. I never liked the word challenge before. I kind of like cringed when you would say it. But my life partner of 10 years was a professional athlete. And I didn't get who he was. But now I get about athletes, right? They run into a challenge because what they can do with their body after that and running into that challenge is so much more than they were able to do before. Well, I would invite us, if it resonates with you, I don't tell people what to do, I just make invitations, to let's look at challenges that way. Not just challenges as like something's wrong, but like, you know how the mind chatters, right? And you say, you get an inspiration for something, you get an idea, and then it's like, well, how are you going to do that? Where's the money going to come from for that? You don't know anything about that. Who's going to listen to you? Why would you write a book? What do you know? You know? And you're like, man, like all of that happened in under 60 seconds, right? So you're like, well, maybe I won't. Or you talk to somebody, and then that person just echoes what that did. However, of late, as a result of this title coming to me, it's like, well, to whom does this thought come? Whose idea is this? It's the infinite. And we are the vessels that it wants to express and experience itself in that specific way. Now, did you ever think that when that idea comes, that everything for its full fruition is also contained within that idea? And it just awaits our yes. It awaits our recognition of knowing that I am the infinite. Joel Goldsmith has a book, and it's called, I believe it's called The Infinite Way. So it would be living the infinite way. Do you really know, and this is no judgment, we're just going to investigate and explore and hopefully expand, embody, and own our infinite nature today, okay? So do you ever think of yourself when your feet hit the floor in the morning, or let's say those knees are a little stiff, or you not need to lean on the arms of the chair to get up? Do you think of yourself as the infinite? Do you think of yourself every single day as an unrepeatable miracle? Do you know that you are the infinite in form? You are the sacred dwelling place of the Most High. Imagine now walking through your life, meeting, showing up with whatever, seeing the news, and let's say it's about war. Okay, as the infinite embodied in this beautiful temple, what can I know for those individuals? I can know the truth of their beingness. I can send light and love. I can speak truth for their families. I don't necessarily have to go and tell everybody I see, But wherever you are, right, we're a light if we choose to be. Wherever you are, whoever we interact with, that's God. Ernest Holmes calls it, deep calls out onto deep and deep answers. Have you ever just went somewhere, let's say a store, and somebody walks up to you and they just, and it might be like deeply personal, and at first your eyeballs, at least my eyeballs, I'll tell on myself, are like, wait, what? And then I'm like, oh, okay, listen with my heart, listen with my heart, listen with my heart. And I hear stuff come out of my mouth, and I'm like, where did that come from? That was a deep calling out into deep moment. And my daughter, bless her heart, she'll never watch this talk, so it's okay if I tell on her. She's like, Mom, don't talk to anybody. Just go straight through the target and just get what we need to get. She is 41, about to be 42, y'all, and she still says that because she just did it to me yesterday. But anyway, she goes, what is it about you? People walk up to you and they tell you their whole life story. I wouldn't even tell anybody that. I was like, Erin, you don't even talk to strangers, so what difference does that make? But people will tell me things, and something comes out of my mouth. I don't know that person, so obviously I'm not the doer. And so, but I want us to really take that on. I'm just going to tell you, if you accept my invitation, what I notice is a lot of things, a lot of places where I'm not showing up knowing that I'm the infinite, or believing that I'm small, or I can't, or I don't have the resources, or all of those things. I do that less now, way less now, and I'll tell you why. The lovely young lady that you noticed, Nancy, my friend Danielle, she ran a women's financial circle over at my old community, and I showed up there. I didn't have a job. I didn't have any money, and my belief about money at the time was that I'm just terrible with money. I have a lot, and then it goes away. I have a lot, and it goes away. And our very first exercise was, what's your money story? And as I'm a person that goes deep, and I don't mind telling, because, maybe I can save you from, making some of the mistakes that I've made. Anyway, I realized that I was afraid of money. I realized that that story was running. I can't do it. I don't know how to do it. Nobody showed me, blah, 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 blah. And we were together, was it like 6 months? 6 months. I didn't necessarily make all the meetings. And I decided that day, that's not going to be my story anymore. Somebody said in the room that money wasn't their friend. And I was like, I never thought about money as my friend. Wow, I'm gonna borrow that if that's okay with you. And so I did. Now, that wasn't easy. A lot of stuff came up or whatever, but I kept at it. I kept at it. I kept at it. I kept at it. And when we decide to embody the infinite, to own that we are its dwelling place, that there's no coincidence or accident that we're here, that wherever we're planted on the planet or in the moment is exactly where the divine is meant to be, things have a way of coming together. Now, if I was an artist, a painter, I would say that canvas between meeting Danielle and now has a whole bunch of color in it. For example, the woman I was living with at the time, a dear friend of mine, I wound up being her caregiver, and she passed. And I spent from late January till her passing in hospitals, rehabs, and hospice. I couldn't tell you why I felt compelled to be there all the time, except something just kept saying, get up, go. And that's what I did. As a result of that, as a result of me listening to that voice and lots of coffee for the long hours, not that I'm advocating for coffee, if anybody doesn't drink it or whatever, where I'm going with this is her best friend, husband, saw God showing up as me, and told his wife, I want to do something for her. And she said, I didn't even know him. I just kind of said hey to him whenever I saw him or whatever. I think a week ago or 2 weeks ago, I'm not exactly sure, he bought me a car. Paid for a car that's sitting out in that parking lot that I drove myself here in today. Yeah. Thank you. As a result of showing up at those meetings and owning that, like, wait, I've only had trouble with money because I was using the infinite power to say, I have trouble with money. I'm not good with money. And as I've been working diligently on that story, that's not the truth. That's not the truth of who I am. The universe is abundant. Even if you go back like to 1920s, there were people still making money, billions of dollars, right? So why do we go without when we are told that the universe is abundant? It's our thinking, right? As you pointed out. Anyway, so one day something said, why are you struggling? You're 62. You could get your Social Security. So I didn't say anything to anybody except for one person who I knew would get it. And she goes, yeah, girl, what? Go ahead and fill out that paperwork. So I jump online, I fill it out, and they say, oh, it could take a long time, whatever. And I was like, okay, no problem, whatever. 3 weeks later, I had a check. And I'll tell you what's funny about the check is I have, from my old community, would affirm checks come to me in the mail. So nobody's really living in the house now. We're getting the house ready that I was living in for an estate sale. And I'm the only one checking the mail. I hadn't been there for a while. Check the mail, y'all. And I see what looks like a check to me. And I'm like, this is one of those things. I'm going to open it. It's going to be you can get $10,000 loan or something like that. So I put it on the counter. And I was like, wait a minute. You've been affirming that checks come to you in the mail. That really looks like a legit check. You should go check it out. Y'all, it was my Social Security payment. 3 weeks, less than 3 weeks to the day that I did. And I was like, holy crap, I almost put that in the trash. I was like, isn't that cuckoo? You pray for abundance, and then abundance shows up, and you're like, oh, I don't know if I trust that. Again, that thinking, right? Who do we say that we are? What is the story that's running throughout the day? And not for judgment. If you know me at all, I'm also a goober, and I like being a goober because I love laughter. I love Inspector Clouseau, whether it's Peter Sellers or the cartoon character. And if you've ever gotten a text from me, inevitably you will see a magnifying glass because I'm always on the hunt for something, right? And so I started investigating my thinking and what are the stories I'm telling, and worse, what's coming out of my mouth. Even when you talk about the past, how are we telling it? And pay attention to your beautiful temple because it'll tell you, you will feel when you are telling a lie. And I don't mean a lie as in like what we call a falsehood, but it is because it's not the truth of your beingness. So maybe you did have a sucky experience, but why was it sucky? Was it sucky because we were in resistance and we forgot who we were? Let's say if it's a health challenge, right? I'll tell on myself. I've had issues with the body. If you've been here before, you know I had a stroke when I was 25. 7 months later, I was hit by head-on in a car collision, and that was the ride. And then years later, I stood up to go to the chiropractor one day, and bloop, bloop, I fell down. Legs didn't work. And then I had to learn how to walk again. There's more, but I won't bore y'all with all that. However, why I bring it up is, in the moment, to get beyond that, I had the thought, no, you don't decide for me. No, I'm not living like that. I'm going to do this. But those day-to-day aches and pains, it's like Judas H. Priest. That thinking has not been in alignment with my truth. And recently, I don't know, maybe less than a month ago, I saw something about Mary Baker Eddy. She was the woman who created Christian Science. She slipped on ice, was unconscious, and the doctor said she'll be dead in 72 hours, 3 days, I think is exactly how he said it. But anyway, 2 days, nothing, right? She's unconscious. Third day, she wakes up, and she asks for her Bible. and she reads the scripture, and forgive me, I don't know the book or whatever. It was the one where Jesus tells the lame man to get up and walk, pick up your bed and walk. She got up out of that bed and she walked. And from that moment on, that's where that movement was born from. She remembered who she was, she claimed her divine identity, and she set out on the path to live from that place every single day for the rest of her life. I bring that up to say it only takes a moment for us to realign and then act from that alignment. So probably everybody in this room has heard of the book Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. I've never read it. And you're like, well, why is she talking about it? Because I like to go on YouTube, and you know how shorts pop up in your feed, right? Well, the short popped up. Wasn't his short, but he was the speaker. And what got me was, if I can remember, I think I remember the name of it. It says, act as if God is within you. Well, what would our day be like? This mind that we think with, this mind, this body, our bodies are actually in the infinite. This space between us, this is the infinite. There's no place that it's not. We can't get outside of it. Even if we listen to the cuckoo that runs through our head, there's nothing we can do to get outside of it. We can illusory, I don't know if that's a word, but I just made it up. If it isn't, I do that a lot too. It's an illusion when we tell ourselves anything else but that. Now, because we are the infinite, we can experience other things than what we would call good, than what we would call prosperity. As you said, either before the song or the limitation, fear. How about moving forward? When that happens, ding, 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 that's a little bell calling us home. I don't know if you've ever seen pictures of the Buddhist monks in Indonesia. They stand outside the temples with their beautiful little robes, and they ring the bell when people walk by, inviting you to come home, to come in. That's all fear, doubt, worry, a diagnosis. That's all those things are. Is ding, 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 ding. That is the infinite talking to itself as us, inviting us. Remember who you are, my beloved. You are that I am. You're not just, I don't know if y'all do it in this community. I'm going to say y'all don't if Kim's your leader. And she is, so powerful one at that. Sometimes in New Thought, people tend to say, well, I'm a human being having a spiritual experience. Wrong. And you can tell them I said so. And if they want to debate it, they can come and talk to me. That won't be a fun conversation for them, but it'll be a joy for me. We are the infinite wearing what we call a body just over and over and over and over again, knowing its self if we allow it to. Are you guys familiar with the concept that our consciousness is mirrored by our external experience? And in this realm, because many of us have forgotten that we're the infinite, that thing looks real, that diagnosis looks real, or that pain feels real, or that relationship ending, or you find yourself alone for a long period of time and you want connection. All of that feels really real. The discomfort now, I invite you from here on, is the little temple bell. Like, the infinite is ready to have a different experience. If you don't like having not enough money, decide. The Lord is my shepherd. I like to say, love is my shepherd, I shall not want. Whatever that thing is for you that you can hold on to, when you feel that discomfort, get happy about that discomfort, because that discomfort is the infinite, the beloved calling itself, us, the beloved, home. To wake up and remember the truth of who we are. There is no condition in the external world that you cannot find somebody that has walked on this planet or is still walking on this planet has not overcome. We are not the great exception. They are a mirror for us if we allow them to be. The beauty of this wonderful community and so many like them, is how lucky are we to have found these places that every week there's some program or some music or something to remind us of our magnificence. Are you ready to start living from that place? Are you ready to start living from that place? Yes. Okay, thank you. Then let's do it, because you have the support, right? It won't be cuckoo. Now, it might be cuckoo. So my daughter doesn't call it cuckoo. She says, Mom, that is so woo-woo. So a few years ago, she says to me, how are you peaceful most of the time no matter what happens to you? Because by now, I would have just like crawled under the bed and just waited to die. And I was like, what? No. I was like, honey, peace is an inside job. And actually, I'm going to change that now. Peace, love, abundance, vibrant health. Every cell in our body, our whole beingness is hardwired for that. Hardwired for that. It just got covered up. Like actors and actresses, right? They play a role and they get all into the role, especially like for movies, right? 3 months at a time, 9 months at a time. So many of us, however long we've been on the planet, in these bodies, believe that we're this and whatever that set of circumstances. And I'm going to ask you today, only if you're willing, you don't have to say out loud, lay that crap down and pick up your divine identity. In a short time, in less than 6 months, my life has completely changed. And it's not the first time. You know, when I had that stroke and they were like, well, they're talking to my mom because I guess they thought I was 10, I don't know, but I was 25. The doctor wasn't talking to me. And I was like, dude, I'm gonna need you to look over here and I gotta get up out of here. I got a kid, we go to the park every other day. She is not, and she had just turned 5, gonna be impacted by that. People called that stubborn, brassness, whatever. Thank God. That was really me recognizing, no, you don't get to decide for me. Life listens to me, right? The car accident. Oh, we need to cut off your leg. You will not be cutting off my leg because I got a baby and we got to go to the park. So you need to find another. And no, I'm not going to be in no body cast. That's not going to work either. So you need to figure something out. And that doctor did not like me at all. So that was his problem. And then the last time, I was pretty. My life was going so good when that got up that morning, and I was like, you got to be kidding me. So I kind of traveled to some dark places, and I was on some really dark drugs. But I had a moment of clarity, and I reached out to a friend who's no longer on the planet, and I said, I need you to get up here. Something's wrong. And so he came, and I said, I got to get out of here. We got to get me out of here. And he said, okay. And I was like, they want to cut me open, and I'm not doing that. I don't know why, but I'm not doing that. And I need you to talk for me because I can't. So the hospital administrator came, and she spent hours in my room. And they were talking, and she's like, really, we need to put her on a cycle. I said, no, we're not doing that either. Y'all need to figure out this medication because I need to get up out this bed. Period, the end, amen. And I looked at Bert, and I was like, you keep telling her until something changes. I'm not going to no psych hold, and this is what's going to happen. So he did. And it was hours of going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And within a couple of days, I was up on my feet again. And then I was out of that hospital, and it was a long road ahead. But I did everything I needed to do. I went every place I needed to be. And I share this with you, for those of you who've heard the story again before, forgive me. I share this with you because that's what Spirit has been reminding me of lately when it's like, who do you say you are? How many times do I have to show you that you can be or do or have anything you want, as much or as little? It's completely up to you, beloved. It is your consciousness that I operate off of. So our thinking, it's very important. Our feeling nature is a gift. It's not a pain in the body. Maybe it needs some attention. You know, in this culture, we have the tendency to push through instead of stop and listen, right? There's a lot of noise between, what do we call it, social media, our smartphones. There's so much. I was listening to Napoleon Hill yesterday as I was riding out here, and he was basically saying, we don't have time to listen to that. I mean, you can if you want to, right? But why would you want to? Why do we want to listen to that we're small and limited and too old and all of this thing? So I'm going to say something about aging. I don't know what I feel about it, but I don't believe in old, because we're actually eternal. We're eternal souls. And I know that, I don't know if that'll sound crazy to anybody in this room, but I get really mad when people say, oh, well, that's because you're old. And I'm like, who are you to tell me I'm old? But I don't say that out loud. I'm like, I'm not even going to engage in that. And I bring this up because a lot of the things that we believe about ourselves up until now, and maybe y'all don't, because y'all come here every week and hang out with Kim Andrews, but we take in those little messages, and it started when we were small, right? And the reason we have that internal rub is that's not our truth. And in any moment, we can choose a new truth. Now, that does not mean when you choose a new truth, when you're looking at no money, your roommate just died, you got to move. Where am I going to go? That all looks and feels really, really real. So here's what I do. I wobble into fear, then I stand back up. And then I remember that friend of mine that came to the hospital. His name was Bert Hedden. There's a song about wobble. I don't know, I think the song is called Wobble. He was at a party and at his community, and he was like, wobble not. And he meant like he was tired of hearing that song over and over. Well, our friend Willeen Dunn, who you guys may have met, she put it to some music. And so when I would feel the fear, I was like, oh, wobble not. And I keep Bert's picture on my mirror, right? Wobble not. And it was like, oh, I just need to know that I have the perfect place to live. I just need to know. I don't have to know the how. I just need to know the what. Because what we feed our consciousness, life mirrors to us. So what are we listening to? Are you listening to the news? If you're listening to the news and it's anything other than a call to prayer, turn it off. Turn it off. Turn it off for 7 days and see what happens. If you, in your spare time, are, I don't know, watching NCIS, what is that feeding your consciousness? I'm telling on myself because it used to be my favorite show. I'm not calling anybody out because I don't do that. What are we feeding our consciousness? Because we are the infinite in form, it's going to mirror it. And when we can't believe the truth of our beingness for ourselves, feed your mind something that can. Call a friend who knows the truth of who you are. Join a group. Nowadays, you can do it online. A book club, in a book club with our beautiful friend Willeen, and it's The Dynamic Laws of Prosperity from Catherine Ponder. And there's a whole section in there about prosperous thinking. What are we thinking? Investigate, introspective, not to judge yourself, not to blame ourselves, not to shame ourselves. We don't shame the infinite because all things work together for the infinite. All things work together for you and you and you and you and you and you and all of us, if that is what we tell ourselves. I would never have said any rough patch that I have been through. I would never have chosen that consciously. I would never, in those moments when it was really, really difficult, said that it was beautiful, that it was a gift, and yet the gifts that I have received from all of anything I've ever experienced are indescribable and immeasurable. And the infinite always puts someone in my path that is walking through something that they can barely stand up, and I can hold them, and I can say, you're not alone. This doesn't feel like it now, but I promise you, good will come of this. And it's not a platitude. And I'll wrap up with a tiny story about Paulo Coelho. Has anybody in this room ever read The Alchemist?
Yeah.
Okay. So we consider that a fiction book, right? But in a way, that's really his life story. So I don't know if you know his life story, but his parents, he wanted to be a writer. And I don't know if they were wealthy or not, but they thought that was crazy. So they put him in an insane asylum twice before he was 20. He gets out, goes on about his life. He winds up becoming a lyricist. And his country decides that his lyrics are treason. And they imprison him. All because he's using that desire that the infinite has given him to write. Now, I cannot tell you how many hundreds of millions of copies of The Alchemist has sold, but it is still one of the all-time highest-selling, highest-read books. There are 3 messages in that book. Look for the signs. He calls them omens because they're everywhere. There's always some way that the divine is saying, you can do this. I got you. Somebody, don't dismiss someone's comment when they say, oh, you look so beautiful today. Oh, I really enjoy your company. That is the divine talking to itself as you. He says, the universe always conspires in our favor. How do you know that the infinite is always conspiring for your favor? Your breath. Do you tell your body to breathe? Anybody? Anybody? No. Do you tell your eyes to see? Do you think you tell your feet to move? You don't. We don't tell this body to do anything. It does it. That is the infinite always being for more life, saying, I got more for you. I want to do more. Our job is to say yes. Our job is to, so if you're walking through a sandstorm, bring it on. Put some goggles. Get a friend. Say, it feels like I'm in the shitter. Excuse my French. Okay, good. Right? Can you hold light for me? I might call you. I probably won't say anything. Can you remind me of who I am? That is knowing who we are. And it's okay if you wobble. Willene is on Spotify. Look for Wobble Not. It may or may not be your jam. But listen to music, right? We're always feeding our consciousness. It's got to be more than just coming here for an hour or 90 minutes or 2 hours if you come to the meditation. It's got to be all throughout the day. What are we listening to in our car? What kind of conversation? If you catch yourself in a conversation with someone and you're not talking about the capital T truth of yourself or the person or whatever, just say, hold on a moment. Regroup. And you might fall silent. I've taken up saying, oh, I'm on a positivity cleanse. And they're like, what? I only talk about what I want to grow in the world. And I don't care. I don't care if they like it. Doesn't matter. We don't need their approval. And you never know who might catch on from you doing that. So I'm going to ask you again. Feel free if you want to say it out loud or not. Who do you say you are? I am that I am. This is my prayer for you today. This is my prayer for all of us. This is my prayer for our beautiful planet. This is my prayer for your beautiful community. May we all know that it continues to thrive. That we see butts in every seat. That the coffers are full and overflowing. That the offerings that you have become a beacon of light in this physical community, but in this world. May we all leave here anchored in the truth of our beingness, that there's one life, that life is God's life, that life is perfect, that life is my life, that life is your life, that life is the life of all. And because we are choosing this day to walk in the knowingness of that, in the truth of our beingness, the infinite way, our world is blessed. And we will see signs everywhere. Take a breath. I am. Exhale, that I am. Take another holy breath with me. I am. That I am. One last breath. I am. That I am. And so it is.